In the middle of a frozen forest, where snow blanketed every branch and silence ruled the icy wilderness, a desperate cry broke through the wind. A baby monkey, far from its warm native land, had wandered into this strange, snowy place after being transported illegally by poachers and somehow escaping their cage. But freedom quickly turned into suffering. The little one collapsed in the snow, shivering, its fur crawling with parasites that gnawed mercilessly at its skin. Each tiny bite weakened it further, and its frightened whimpers echoed between the frosted pines. From the shadows of the forest, a massive figure stirred. A polar bear, majestic and strong, lumbered forward, following the sound. His instincts told him to protect, not prey. When his eyes fell upon the helpless monkey, he saw not a meal but a fragile life teetering on the edge. With surprising gentleness, the polar bear nudged the baby, its tiny body trembling, its face twisted in pain. The great beast understood. This little one needed saving. The polar bear lowered himself onto the snow, shielding the monkey from the icy wind with his enormous body. Carefully, he used his rough tongue to groom the tiny creature, licking away clumps of fur where parasites clung. The baby whimpered but slowly quieted, leaning into the warmth of the bear. Hours passed as the polar bear stood guard, ensuring no predator or biting wind reached the fragile soul. But the battle against parasites was far from over. At dawn, a rescue team, tracking reports of strange animal cries, arrived at the forest's edge. What they saw stunned them. A polar bear watching over a baby monkey nestled in the snow like a guardian spirit. The team acted quickly, tranquilizing the bear just enough to guide it away safely while scooping the monkey into their protective arms. They treated the monkey with warm blankets and medicine, flushing out the parasites that had almost claimed its life. As the baby's eyes fluttered open, it looked back at the retreating figure of the polar bear disappearing into the snowy white, as though saying thank you. In that frozen forest, nature had shown its most unexpected kindness, the strength of the mighty serving as a shield for the smallest. The morning sun struggled to break through the snowy haze, casting faint silver beams across the forest. The rescue team moved cautiously, their boots crunching against the hard ice as they followed the faint trail of cries they had been tracking for hours. They had come prepared for anything: wild predators, injured animals, even poachers, but none of them expected the sight that unfolded before their eyes. Just beyond a grove of frost-bitten pines, a massive polar bear sat in the snow, his enormous body hunched protectively over something small and fragile. The men froze. Polar bears were known for their strength and ferocity, but here, instead of roaring or charging, this bear lowered his great head and nudged a tiny bundle of fur nestled against his chest. At first, the rescuers couldn't believe what they were seeing. But as they edged closer, binoculars confirmed the truth. It wasn't a cub, as they assumed. It was a baby monkey, frail, shaking, and covered in patches of missing fur where parasites had chewed into its skin. The little one's breathing was shallow, each rise and fall of its chest weak and uneven. The polar bear, though powerful enough to crush the monkey in a single swipe, was using every ounce of gentleness he possessed. He shifted his weight carefully, his large paws creating a shield against the bitter wind, his breath warming the tiny creature. Occasionally, he leaned down to lick the monkey's back, grooming the parasites away with slow, patient strokes. The team exchanged quick, silent glances. They knew they had to act fast. Parasite infestations could quickly drain the life from such a small animal, especially in freezing conditions. But approaching the bear was risky. One wrong move, and the guardian might perceive them as a threat. They hatched a careful plan. 2 rescuers would prepare a tranquilizer dart, while others readied blankets, medicine, and a heated carrier for the monkey. The leader, a seasoned wildlife specialist named Drive, Kale, raised his hand to signal stillness. He steadied the tranquilizer rifle and waited for the right moment. The polar bear lifted his head, sniffing the air, clearly aware of their presence. For a tense heartbeat, the world froze. The rescuers feared he might bolt, or worse, attack. But instead, the bear remained where he was, his dark eyes reflecting not aggression but a weary kind of trust. It was almost as if he understood why they had come. With steady hands, Drive, Kale fired. The dart whistled softly through the air and struck the bear's thick shoulder. The beast flinched, letting out a low rumble that shook the trees. The rescuers held their breath, ready for chaos. But the bear simply shifted his weight, his body swaying slightly as the sedative began to take effect. He glanced down once more at the baby monkey, gave a final, soft nudge, and then slumped gently into the snow. Even in unconsciousness, his paw rested protectively near the fragile creature. The rescuers rushed forward. One man carefully lifted the baby monkey from the snow, gasping at the state of its fur. Fleas and ticks clung stubbornly, leaving red, inflamed patches of skin. The monkey whimpered weakly, too exhausted to fight. "We need to clean and treat him immediately," whispered one of the medics, wrapping the little one in a thermal blanket. Another rescuer prepared antiseptic and special ointments for parasite removal. With practiced precision, they worked quickly, dabbing, cleaning, and carefully pulling parasites off one by one. Every time the monkey twitched or whimpered, they murmured soothing words, their gloved hands gentle despite the urgency. Meanwhile, Kale crouched beside the polar bear. He marveled at the sheer size of the creature, the massive paws, the thick white coat glistening with frost. But more than that, he was struck by the strange tenderness he had witnessed moments earlier.